Joining us now, former director of ICE, Sara Saldana. She served in the Obama administration. Thank you very much for joining us.
Of course.
I want to get your reaction to this moment that we're in, and as DH says, the escalating, the surge in violence against ICE officers.
Well, it's horrific. I am sick to my stomach this morning when I heard what happened. I was the former United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, which is based in Dallas. And of course, as director of ICE, I know this facility very well. I am just shocked and amazed.
I was just talking to Christopher O'Leary, and he said part of it is toning down the rhetoric. How would you try to go about that in order to not just keep ICE officers safe, but the detainees as well? And I know that we're still trying to figure out exactly who this person was aiming for, but ultimately he did end up, or they did end up killing 2 detainees and injuring a 3rd.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I myself would like to speak to that question directly, but it's going to require holding accountable our politicians. I've been saying this the entire time of my tenure as director of ICE, and I continue to say it, and my words seem to fall on deaf ears. We have got to do something about immigration reform. We've got to hold our politicians to account for their failure to come to a table in good faith to try to work out a resolution to the immigration issues that our country is facing. This is not new. There doesn't seem to be political will to really address the overall question of what is the best approach to immigration for this country. And I'm really saddened by it. I noticed this morning at the Dallas Police Department conference that they had that my home state senator, Ted Cruz, made his way to the podium and spoke about a subject that I think, and made a comment that I think the entire country accepts, and that is divisive rhetoric has tragic consequences, true tragic consequences, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. The problem is the next thing I hear is simply divisive rhetoric from the left. That's not a good start. That's not a good start to trying to work out.
Let me play that sound.
This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric, demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other.
So what specifically are you taking issue with there?
Well, the comment was made either before or after, citing references to conservative figures who have been the subject of violence. And that's absolutely true, and nobody accepts that. But let's go squarely in the middle and put the responsibility of correcting this issue on both sides. Everyone is responsible. My hope, Katie, is that the administration from the very top, and I mean the very, very top, takes this opportunity in this moment in history to address the American public, to bring a message of peace and unity for this country on this very divisive issue. Leadership is lacking. We need it desperately right now. And an address to the American public, I think, would go a long way. And then politicians getting to the table to work out some overall immigration reform that is so desperately needed.
Why don't you think there is immigration reform? Why do compromises go down? Last one was last year. It was a bipartisan compromise on immigration legislation led by a Republican. Why does Congress not get this over the line?
My view is that it has become so politically charged. That, you know, we are so good in this country in facing very troubling issues and getting to the table and saying, how do we address this in a bipartisan fashion? But it has become so politically charged that both sides, I'm not blaming one side or the other, both sides have failed in their responsibilities to say, I am not going to use this as a political bullet point to favor my side. I am going to solve a very serious problem facing the American nation. And you know what? ICE, whether people want to accept this on my side of the aisle, which is the left, or not, is a very important national security agency and public service agency. The majority of women and men in that agency, I know this firsthand, I led 20,000 of them, are good, hardworking people that are just going about doing their job. You know, policy isn't made by removal officers and staff. It's made from the very top. Conversely, immigrants who are in this country just to try to make a living and feed their families who have come here, even though they're not documented, they are not the villains. They should not be demeaned and reviled. We should be working towards achieving some kind of solution. And we can. That's the problem. That's a sad thing.
It's possible. Yeah, you know, I once had a high-level DHS official tell me, in speaking about what you were just saying and pointing to both sides, that the issue of immigration is so sticky politically. It's such a good campaign issue that there is not a desire from any lawmakers to truly solve it. That was their criticism of the entire process. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your service, of course. Sarah Saldana, former director of ICE. Thank you.